father gave the necklace to his niece, Myra, when she graduated from art school. She always liked the color yellow. And she had a thing for bugs. She drew pictures of them. Bugs had it easy, was how Myra saw things. Bugs led simple lives and didn't ponder life's big questions, such as, who am I? And what am I supposed to do? Bugs, thought Myra, didn't feel lost like she sometimes felt. Myra kept the necklace for several years and then passed it on to its present-day owner, her daughter, whose name was Tildy Gubbers. Chapter 1. Tildy. In the middle of Daddy Lou's auction house, Tildy Gubbers was surrounded by poodle lamps, and they weren't the least bit interested in her problems, she could tell. They certainly weren't interested in the business with her mama. They just sat there, staring at her with their flat, painted-on black eyes, while Tildy was overcome with a peculiarly awful feeling. It had started in her head, moved into her tonsils, and settled unpleasantly in her gut. It felt like something was missing. She had to admit it was strange to have such a missing sort of feeling when there were tables loaded with stuff all around her. The stuff, in addition to the poodle lamps, was all kinds of collectibles. Antiques, knickknacks, bric-a-brac, gewgaws, notions, sundries, curios. There were a lot of names for the things people bought at her father's auction house. What could be missing? Said Tildy, running her hand through her short hair. She had posed the question to one of the pink poodle lamps in front of her. It had an annoyed expression on its face. But maybe that was more likely to do with the electric cord coming out of its butt. In any case, it didn't answer. The poodle lamps, along with everything else that had been spread out on the tables, had belonged to a local collector named Frederica Verne, a lady who had lived just outside of town in a trailer next to an old, crumbly-down farmhouse. A lady who had amassed so much stuff in that farmhouse that there wasn't any room left for her to even scratch her armpits. Not that she ever had cause to do such a thing. That's just the way townspeople described her situation. She's got so much jam-packed in that house of hers, the poor woman can't even lift up her arms to scratch her pits. Incidentally, Ms. Verne seemed to be missing nothing. The woman had 20 of everything. At least, while she was alive. Now that she was dead, she was probably missing a lot. Because by this time tomorrow, thanks to Tildy's father, Daddy Lou, all her stuff would belong to somebody else. Gubbers Appraisal and Salvage Auctions, which was the name of Daddy Lou's auction business, had been passed down from a long line of Gubberses. All of them named Lou. The business was in the same cinder block garage where Daddy Lou's grandfather, who was known as Big Lou, had started it more than 80 years before. The auction house was just one room, big enough to fit about a dozen cars and a tiny office and even tinier bathroom in the back. There was a wide wooden door at the front that was always propped open during business hours to let some light in the place. Air, too. Which was a good thing, because there were no windows. And even though it had been a very long time since it was an actual garage, the place still stank like motor oil and old wet towels. Tildy was used to the stink, because for the last 186 days, she'd spent a lot of time there after school and on weekends. A lot. That was just one of the many ways Tildy's life had changed after her mama left. "What could be missing?" said Tildy again. She checked the pockets of her shorts. Honey lip balm, a ball of lint, and her anatomy notebook and drawing pencil. All there. "I'll tell you what's missing," said Leon Monteforte, who was suddenly beside Tildy. "Good taste, plain and simple." Cripes, Leon. There were times when Tildy felt like she was being punished for a terrible thing.